So we're joined from the beautiful country of Panama in the Caribbean by my friend, Courageous Fire. We thank you so much, as always, for sharing this very important topic with us. I've got a room full here of seniors here with me at Velma Jackson High School getting ready to graduate here in just a few short months. And as they get ready to make that transition to college or their next step, we just need to have this very important conversation about safety, recognizing abuse in relationships, being able to recognize signs of domestic violence, sexual assault, and make sure that while they are there fulfilling their dreams that their parents have and so many people have encouraged them for, we want to make sure they are safe and healthy and are able to accomplish all of that without any danger to themselves or their loved ones. So we thank you again so much, my friend, Courageous Fire.
Awesome, Coach Paget. Thank you so much for having me. Okay, so things that we're going to talk about today may trigger you. So I want you to know that if this happens, if you feel like you're getting hot or you're feeling extra fidgety or maybe agitated or things like that, that's your body's way of telling you that the subject matter is triggering to you. I want you to remember that triggers usually happen because what you're hearing reminds you of something you've already experienced that you found traumatic. And so it's usually not just the words you're hearing, it is also what you have experienced that your body is now taking you back to. So always start with breathing in through your nose and trying to fill up this area down here as big as you can, like a balloon, and then exhaling through a little pinhole in your lips, nice and slow and even and deliberate. A lot of times that is helpful. If that by itself is not enough, then start touching things. If you have a water bottle or a notebook or a pen or just anything that you can remind yourself that, wait a minute, I'm here in this time and space. I wasn't with these things, these people when that was happening, so I'm not there. Reminding yourself that you are safe and where you are right now today. With coach's permission, if that is not enough and you need to step away completely just so you can stop hearing what's happening, feel free to do that. I'm going to be sending him a handout in the email that he will send to you. So if there's anything that you missed for a couple of moments, I guarantee that you'll be able to catch up by just being able to look at that handout. I want to instill in you now, before you get out into the world as adults, the most important thing you can do is prioritize taking care of you first. And so we're going to normalize that today by me telling you if you need to ground yourself and you have to step away to do it, take care of you first and then come back to the presentation. Um, I want you to know the picture on teen dating violence in the Black community right now. So, if you look at just high school students, there are 1 in 12 youth that experience some form of teen dating violence, which that number in itself is huge. But if we just look at youth overall in the United States, 1 in 3. So, if you look at any room of your peers and you take a third in your mind's eye and sit them to the side, that is the sampling of how many people that you are standing around that have already experienced some sort of teen dating violence. There was a study done on high school students. Look at the numbers of Black youth as opposed to white or Asian youth. And these, in this study, these were just high school students who reported it. Most people don't report it. So the numbers are even higher amongst those who have not reported. Um, some of the highest numbers of teen dating violence are among female and LGBTQ plus identifying students, higher numbers of sexual violence than their peers. And the one at the bottom that is the most important to me that you not be a part of is that when you experience teen dating violence in your youth, you tend to also experience that same type of violence in adult relationships. I don't want that to happen to you, so that's why I'm here today. So, what is teen dating violence? One of the things I need you to understand about abuse is that it is never accidental. Never, never, never. Nobody accidentally is abusive because of its definition. So let's first of all understand that it's a pattern of behavior. It's not a one-off thing. It didn't happen because they were tired. It didn't happen because they failed an exam. It is a pattern of behavior. So they've done these things over and over and over again. Why are they doing this particular pattern? Because they want to gain or maintain power and control over their partner in the relationship. Okay, so that's what the behavior is designed to do. A pattern is designed to make a certain statement on clothing, in an art project. That's what patterns are designed to do. They have a purpose. And I also want you to understand that it doesn't matter how long ago this person and you were in an intimate partner relationship. We're talking about current or former partners who want to gain or maintain power or control over their partners. And so they have a certain designed pattern of behavior to achieve and sustain that. It's the same definition when you're an adult. It just doesn't have the T in front of it for happening within the teen dating environment. But that is what intimate partner violence is. Um, I don't know if I'll be able to hear you, but I want you to answer this out loud. Say yes if you've ever heard of coercive control. Did anybody say yes?
Nobody said, everybody said no.
Everybody said no. Okay. That is important for you to know more so than just the word abuse. You better know coercive control. So coercive control you've seen, and when I start describing it to you, you're going to know you've seen it already. It's not that people are being told they can't do things or they have to do other things. It's just that the abuser knows exactly what to do to them whenever they go outside of the lines of approved behaviors that the abuser has for their victim. So coercive control doesn't operate in permission, it operates through consequences. Another word for consequences would be punishment. So I want to like break this down so you really understand it. So coercive control is not your boyfriend saying, I don't want you to go hang out with your friend who happens to also be male. We won't even call it a friend. We'll say your cousin, your male cousin. Your boyfriend doesn't tell you you can't go. Your boyfriend just says, okay, if that's what you want to do. Now, also at the same time, your boyfriend knows that you are afraid, deathly afraid of spiders. So you go, hang out with your cousin, have a great time. You come back, you reach into something that they know you reach into all the time. And all of a sudden, even though it was closed, there's a spider inside. You freeze because you are terrified of them. And they just look at you and go, things happen when things happen. And then you go in your head, oh, okay, they really didn't want me to go hang out with my cousin. I know they have issues and jealousy issues with me and guys, but that's my cousin. So I thought we was going to be cool. And they didn't say that they were mad. They didn't say I couldn't go. Fast forward maybe a couple of days later, you get ready to go do something maybe at your church. And the choir director is a young person, a teenager, and they're also a male. And you go, okay, well, I'm getting ready to go to choir rehearsal. I'll see you later. And they just look at you like, okay. And then you start thinking, wait a minute, the choir director is a male. I think they're trying to say I shouldn't go. And then maybe you go, but you go real late. Well, I tell you, this thing just be doing stuff for me even when I ain't doing nothing. I guess at some point it will stop. Okay, there we go. And so maybe you don't go, just forego the whole choir rehearsal. Maybe you go really late. But still, when you get back, they just kind of glance at that same bag where there was a spider. You don't know whether to touch it or not. And so you just kind of freeze and they go, I'm not saying something's in there, but could be. So the next time you have something, maybe in another week or two, and it's connected to a guy, you kind of glance at them and they give you the look they gave you when you came back the last two times. Now they don't say anything. They just look at you, right? So if there's somebody else who's in the room, they just see them look at you. And then you just go, yeah, I'm going to stay home this time. And everybody's thinking that's weird, but nobody questions it because nothing really happened. That is what coercive control looks like. They groomed you to know this is the behavior I accept, this is the behavior I reject. If you do behavior I reject, you will get a punishment that feels like torture to you, intolerable to you, unbearable for you. How did they get this information from you? Studying you, listening to you, right? It seemed really attentive, like, oh my gosh, and they hang on every word I say. Yeah, they do because they're studying. So coercive control is designed with the victim's biggest fears in mind. It is designed to not show up to anybody else but you as the victim. And it is designed to be based on you knowing what not to do with signals that no one else can interpret. That's what coercive control looks like. Now, if I were to ask you again, have you seen it? What would your answer be? Yes or no? What did they say, coach?
We had about half and half, yes and no.
See, there you go. I know you've seen it. You just didn't know. So here's some of the things you might notice, whether it's about you or somebody else. They seem to forget important events or moments for them, not for other people, even for their own stuff. And you're wondering how in the world can they forget these things? Or maybe they seem unsure of how to describe their own experiences, thoughts, needs, feelings. It's not that they're being difficult, it's just that they can't ever seem to find the words to talk about how they feel or what they need. Maybe they always hesitate when you bring up relationships. These last two are really big. They appear anxious, distracted, or they're never, ever fully present with you when you interact with them. There's just always a little something between you and them that seems disconnected. This last one is huge. Involuntarily, they smile over things that you think, shouldn't this person be uncomfortable with that? But instead of looking uncomfortable, they smile or they laugh or they chuckle in really weird, unusual, inappropriate moments that don't make sense for somebody to be happy or smiling. These are signals that they have learned how to cope with the coercive control that they have to live under, and they find ways to push through. Sometimes the smiling and the laughter are really, really big for that. Coercive control matters so much because it is called the lynch pin. I don't know if you've ever heard that terminology before, but if you look at this hand of mine, and then if you look at how I grab around these fingers, I'm not even like holding up my arm anymore. This arm is. And the strength of these fingers and the grasp that it has on this hand is the reason why I don't need any strength in the left arm here, because it holds everything and it can hold as much weight as I want it to. A linchpin is something that holds everything else together. Coercive control holds all forms of violence together and makes them successfully work. So if you are seeing coercive control, you've already seen abuse. Four other big signals, and these are in your handouts too. You want to get Chinese tonight or you want to get pizza? I don't know. Well, what do you want to do? And not just like in a cute little coy little way, but literally, like they're afraid to pick the wrong thing. So they keep trying to defer ordinary decisions to everybody else. Have you ever watched somebody hyper monitor other people's reactions?
Oh, yeah.
Like everything that people do, whether they laugh, whether they lean forward, or whether they sit back, whether they put their hands on their lap, or whether they fold their arms. It's like, okay, why are you like analyzing every little movement that a person makes, every little inflection in their voice? Because that is survival techniques you are witnessing. That's how they stay out of dangerous things in the course of control. That's how they avoid certain intolerable punishments for them, is by being hyper alert for what expressions, body language that they see that's telling them, don't do that. I don't want that. And if you do it, you're going to pay for that. So they've gotten accustomed to doing that. Loss of autonomy without visible force. If people are talking all at the same time, because people tend to do that. You're in a group of your friends or associates or maybe even classmates. People talk over each other. It happens, right? But the minute somebody talks over them, they just get quiet. They shut down. They instantly think they did something wrong. That's loss of autonomy, of them being able to do what they want without any visible force. Like nobody told them they couldn't talk. Nobody told them that they had to stop, but they feel like something is telling them you're out of place. So make yourself small. That's another way that coercive control can look like on someone who's being victimized. And the biggest thing that I think you want to be looking for is behavior that is shaped around avoiding punishment. Okay. Healthy decision making is this is what's best for me. So I'm going to do this. This is what's best for me. And it's not over there. So I'm not going to do that over there. Someone who is being coercively controlled thinks, what do I need to do to avoid getting in trouble, to avoid negative consequences? The teacher said, if I do this, I'm going to get in trouble. I'm not going to do that because I don't want to get caught. Okay, but if you're a good student, you're always doing what you're supposed to be doing. Why are you so worried about getting caught or getting in trouble with the teacher? Because you live under coercive control. And so your behavior is shaped around avoiding punishment. These are all signals that violence is present, and it does not have to look physical or be recognizable to be violent. What are the types of abuse that you should be looking out for in teen dating violence? So there's a whole list of these here, and in your handout, there's a lot of things. We've heard a lot about emotional abuse, so I'm not going to go too much into that one. Most of us know about physical violence, but I will put one more thing on there that you may not know. It is not just the physical things that you see people do or that you see physical evidence of, like a black eye or a bruise on somebody's arm or something like that. It is also considered physical violence if someone is denied medical attention for emotional or physical harm or illness or injury. Well, you don't need to get that looked at. There's no reason for you to do that. You know what? You should just stay here with me. You know what? There's no reason to do all that. If there's always somebody blocking you being able to get the attention that you need medically, that is considered physical violence because it actually impacts and affects your physical person.
And not to interrupt you, but real quick right there, for the ones going to college, especially if they have access, most of these colleges they want to go to have free clinics for the students. So it's not even going to cost them any money and they're still refusing it. That would be a huge red flag.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Um, Spiritual abuse. Do they wrap up their actions in what you believe in? So, what are your spiritual beliefs? If they are aware of those and somehow their behavior that doesn't feel quite right to you, somehow they always have some sort of spiritual explanation as to why their behavior is not only acceptable, but is something that would please whatever spiritual being that you're connected to. That is something to tell you that they are spiritually abusing you. They're wrapping up what they're doing in what you believe in so that you will feel guilty for calling them on that behavior. Um, we'll talk about sexual violence and coercion, including internet-based sexual assault, in a few more slides down the road. But I do want you to know that there's no such thing as revenge porn. I'm sure you've heard that term. Revenge would imply that somebody has done something wrong and someone else is trying to get them back for the wrong that they've done. So that is why sexual violence experts no longer acknowledge that term. It is called internet-based sexual assault because that is what it is. If someone has your photos and they're threatening to do something to you unless you comply with something that they want, that is not revenge porn. It is internet-based sexual assault. If you somehow find a way to get away from the person that is abusive, and then they find ways to still be abusive even outside of the relationship, that is post separation abuse. It is still abuse. And because they are a former intimate partner, it still falls under the headings of domestic violence. Financial abuse is going to be in your handout, but I want to say it is not just someone else controlling your money. It is also someone making it hard or impossible for you to earn money or keep the money or keep access to earning money that you have. Are they always texting you at work, calling you at work, causing you to get written up, causing you to lose your jobs? Are they always sabotaging your ride so that you're late to work? Like, are these things happening because they're still part of financial abuse because they're affecting your ability to keep a stable income? I want you to know that these types rarely appear by themselves. If you're seeing one, ask yourself, what else am I seeing? Because I am pretty sure you're seeing something else as well, and coercive control connects them together. Because let's just really think about it. People that we don't care anything about cannot convince us to do anything. It is only people that we feel connected to in some way and that we feel either some sort of loyalty to or that we feel we have no control over the way that they're going to treat us that we do certain things with or don't do certain things because of. That's why it holds everything in place because it has to be established first before any of these others will actually work. I need you to know abuse is not a sudden outburst of anger. It is not a loss of control. It is not because someone is not on their medication. It is not because they're on that stuff. It's not because they're drunk. Abusers feel entitled to control someone else, and they will do whatever they have to do to gain and maintain that control that they believe that they should have. And I really want you to ask yourself if a person has a pattern of behavior that is designed for something, doesn't that tell you that that person is calculated? Doesn't that tell you that that person measures things? Doesn't that tell you that person is very intentional? And I will tell you, as a scholar practitioner in gender based violence, domestic violence, violence prevention, that abusers are very good at showing people what they need to see at the times they need to see it. So just because you are in a relationship with someone who is a monster does not mean that they appear monstrous to other people.
Man, tell me about it.
Other people will probably describe them as very charming, very nice. They're so funny. They're so sweet. They're so kind. They're so generous. My daughter and I were just talking this morning about the fact that two things can be true at the same time. A person can do great things for people and be wildly abusive, right? I was married to a person by the time the divorce was final for almost 15 years. And if you ask homeless people in Des Moines, Iowa, if he was a wonderful person, they will say yes, because he could cook really well. And he would once a week go downtown and give away like chef 5-star meals to homeless people in styrofoam containers with disposable cutlery and everything else, the whole 9 yards. It was a meal fit for a king. Now, those people didn't know that we were all forced in the kitchen to do that meal. They didn't know that he gave it all to them and we didn't eat dinner that night. They didn't know that. To them, he was a hero, but he was doing those very opposite things with us at home. Two things can be true in the same container.
Wow.
They are very controlled and very much in control of what they choose to show, with whom, and when. So do not think that it is a loss of control. So right now, there's they're not calling it a recession, but it is. There's a recession in the United States, in case nobody told you. There is. And people say during a recession, more violence happens. And they tend to say, because more people are out of work, there's a stress on the household and that causes violence to go up. Stress does not cause violence to go up.
Yeah, and we
Okay.
just had a similar case to this in Mississippi, where it was at Ole Miss, and they finally found the body of a young man who was killed by his male secret lover, and the reason it was such a big deal is because he was perceived as being this great leader in the community, this great,
Yep.
all these local leaders were coming out in support of him when he was going to trial, but when the facts finally came out, you saw that he had killed this
Mhm.
person and he's going to be in prison for
Mm.
40 years now. So that is such a,
Yeah.
and that's something that was right up the road from us now.
Yep. Yep. Absolutely. It's not a sudden thing. So a lot of times within domestic violence relationships, sexual violence exists because it's easier. Everyone is looking for someone and looking at someone suspiciously that jumps out of the bushes, right? But if I've already consented to sexual relations with my partner, I am very unlikely to look at them as sexually coercing me, being sexually violent with me, because we are intimate partners. By very definition, sex is involved with that relationship. It doesn't usually present itself as someone forcibly being sexually violent. It usually appears as coercion rather than force. So, in other words, I feel like I can't say no, whether it's I think I'm going to be punished, whether I think they're going to do something to themselves because they've alluded to, when I feel rejected, I hurt myself. When I feel rejected, I want to kill myself. When I feel this, I want to do this. And so, because you care about them, you don't want to feel like you are the catalyst for harm coming to someone you care about. All of those things fall under coercion. It may also appear as pressure instead of threats. It may also feel like compliance for safety purposes. And if you don't feel like you can either choose not to have children through reproductive control, or you don't feel like you have a choice to stop having children, if someone is sabotaging your birth control, if someone is forbidding birth control, forcing that on you, all of those things, they all fall under the heading of sexual violence. And if you consent to intimate relationships with your partner and they're doing things within the consent that they know you don't consent to, at that point, it still becomes sexual violence because consent has to not only start, but it has to sustain for it not to be sexually violent. So I will say that a lot of times you hear me saying he when I'm talking about the perpetrator and she when I'm talking about the victim survivor. I do want you to know that yes, in violence prevention and gender-based violence professional circles, we do understand that anybody can be the victim in any intimate partner relationship of violence. We understand that. We know it is true, whether it is same sex, whether it's heterosexual, whether you're the male or the female, whether you're non-binary, it doesn't matter. We know that it can happen. However, we also do know that 1 in 4 men experience domestic violence versus 1 in 3. And the 25% to 33% might not sound like a big difference, but within those percentages, there's a whole lot of people, body counts in there. So there is a huge difference between 1 in 3 and 1 in 4. So that's the reason why a lot of the language you may read and see will talk about she when they're talking about victims, and we'll talk about he when they're talking about the perpetrator. Um, Gentlemen, when you are going to college, I need you to understand consent. I need you to understand consent because you could find yourself in a very gray area. And I want you to know what it is and what it isn't. Ladies, I want you to be listening too because you need to understand when you should be saying, "Hey, I didn't say anything yet, so I haven't consented yet." So let's talk about a person who's incapacitated. So if a person is asleep, and I know that you see movies and you see sitcoms and you see dramas all the time that show people doing these things and they look romantic. But I need you to know that kissing on somebody, rubbing on somebody when they're asleep isn't consent. That person is incapacitated. It's not romantic. You need to make sure they're awake and that they can consent. If they are asleep, if they are unconscious, if they are impaired by anything, whether it is drugs, alcohol, or even pain, they are incapacitated and they cannot consent, period. The second one is silence. Hey, babe, I've been missing you today. No response. And then you start in, no response. That is silence. That's not consent. That is not consent. Just because they love you, just because before they were cool with it, it doesn't matter. That's not consent. Freezing up, compliance, going along with it, again, not consent. So when I say freezing, I literally mean they stiffen, they turn away, they pull back a little, right? You can also feel somebody's skin tremble under your touch. That is not, I got startled. That is, I don't want to do this right now. That is not consent. Just because their mouth didn't open and words came out, that's not consent. Previous consent is not consent. Well, they're my girlfriend, they're my boyfriend. We do this all the time. Doesn't matter. Every single time you need consent. And I know this might sound cumbersome, but as a person who's experienced sexual assault, I will tell you, I want consent. I want someone to be unromantic. I want you to ask me every single time, are you okay with this? Is this comfortable to you? Is this too much? Is this okay? That last one I bolded because I cannot tell you how many women have said that their partner said, I can tell you like it even though you say you don't. How can you tell? Because my body responded. Physical arousal is not consent. Our bodies are wired certain ways because we are made so that we can reproduce. So in order to reproduce, certain things have to happen. Certain things have to take place in order for certain things to happen. And our body physically prepares for those things to take place by doing certain things. That doesn't mean that she, as the person, is ready. It means that her reproductive system is preparing for its job, but it does not mean that she is consenting because her body is aroused. And if you feel like that you should be able to be romantic whenever you want to and you shouldn't have to do that, I need you to look at that statement at the bottom one more time. Abusers feel entitled to someone else. Abusers feel entitled. Partners feel like this is a special thing and they feel an honor to be able to share themselves with their partner. Abusers feel entitled. Abusers feel like it's their own personal possession and that they shouldn't have to ask. How do you check for consent? You ask. You ask, is this okay? Hey, I'm really feeling you right now. Is it okay with you if we such and such and so and so? No, you don't have to explain every move. I'm not saying that. But is it okay? I feel like being with you right now. Are you down right now? Is that okay for you? And then look for true signs of participation. Again, if people are pulling away, if they're freezing, turning away, stiffening, or other similar signs, they are not participating. And if in doubt, stop. just just stop, boo. Just stop. And again, if you're in a relationship with someone and you stop, they're going to ask you, honey, is everything okay? And then you can tell them how much you care, right? I wasn't sure if you were consenting. I thought I felt something, so I stopped. Did I misread you? Are you okay? I would love to continue because you know I love you, but I just want to make sure that you're good. And it's okay with me if you're not, but that's why I stopped. You tell me what you want to happen next. Ask, look for true signs of participation. And if you're in doubt, stop. Why does this coercive control, abuse, and all this stuff, why does it matter so much in the long haul? Because of cortisol. Our bodies are made for certain hormones to do certain things. So the fight or flight hormone is cortisol. It peaks suddenly on purpose to rush certain energy to certain parts of your body and your brain so that you have split second timing, so that your brain is super sharp to reason and make split second decisions. That's what it's there to do. But it is only intended for that to happen momentarily. And then the cortisol is supposed to be able to return to normal levels because the danger is supposed to be quickly dealt with and brought under submission. If that does not happen, such as in the case when people are living under coercive control, living under abuse, then the cortisol levels stay high. Prolonged cortisol activation is linked to all those things you see there. I want you to ask yourself, how many Black women do you know with lupus? There's at least one Black woman you know who got it in her 30s and 40s, and nothing else was wrong with her ever before. And then all of a sudden, she went in the hospital and she came back out, and everybody was like, yeah, she got lupus. From what? Why? Stress related cardiovascular disease, chronic inflammation and pain. In the Black community, there are so many people with unexplained aches and pains that are debilitating. They didn't get in a car accident. They didn't have some prolonged disease as a child. What's wrong with them? Every time they go back to the doctor, it's a whole thing of, we don't really know. Let's try this medication. Let's try that medication. And they're forever dealing with the fallout from the medications that they're taking to figure out what this chronic inflammation and pain is caused by. Prolonged cortisol activation is linked to that. Why do Black women get the most aggressive treatment resistant types of cancers? Why do we not respond? But white women go get cancer, ring the bell, and are cancer free for years. We get the same cancer, and so and so's homegoing is next Saturday. Why? Cortisol. Cortisol. Why do Black women have some of the worst mortality rates wrapped around maternity? Trying to have children, trying to bear children, trying to carry children. Why? Violence is directly linked to poor health outcomes. So it's not
Absolutely.
just something that happens to you in the relationship, it stays with you long after you've gotten away from that or you think you have. And it's not a surprise that so many Black women's health outcomes are so poor and that we have the second shortest, life spans in women in the United States. The only people with shorter lifespans in women in the United States are our indigenous sisters, tribal nation women, Native Americans. But Black women have the second shortest lifespan. Over 40% of us experience domestic violence within our lifetimes, and femicides are when Black women are murdered. 56% of us, up to when they find out who killed us, what happened, it's linked to domestic violence.
And I would
So
say
that's why
locally
our
in
health outcomes are
Mississippi,
so
it's
poor.
even
Go ahead.
higher. It's even higher than that in Mississippi.
Oh, of
Because if you look at
course.
all the homicides that have taken place of women, of Black women in the Metro Jackson area in the last 5 years, I would say almost all of them have been linked to domestic violence.
I wish I had more time to go through this, but I left you in your handout a link to a video that is on my LLC website that talks in detail about the age stage domestic violence homicide timeline. It starts with coercive control, it ends with homicide, attempted homicide, or homicide, suicide. Um, People have the myth, and I want to just completely dispel that here today with you. People don't all of a sudden kill somebody in an intimate partner relationship. They are violent from the start, and at some point it escalates, and they decide that that's what they're going to do. But coercive control and stalking are two of the most reliable indicators that a person is willing to commit homicide of their partner. I want you all to make a promise and a commitment to yourselves that you will not get in any more relationships without finding out whether or not number one is true. Because that is stage one of the domestic violence homicide timeline. Have they been violent before? Have they stalked somebody before? It doesn't matter whether they were caught by the police, have an actual record or not. Did they do that before? Any type of domestic violence, no matter what type it falls under, have they been violent before or did they stalk someone? And stalking is a part of domestic violence, to be clear, but I separate them, and this stage timeline separates them because people don't often look at them as two different things. Stalking is a thing by itself, and it also is a type of domestic violence. So has this person ever done it before? First of all, never ask them. Don't ask them. But do find out. Ladies, I know that some of y'all actually have ways that you find out personal information on folks because you look them up. Good for you. But while you're looking them up, see what you can find out about this part. Because even more so than whether or not they have traffic tickets or whatever else you think is interesting about whatever you look up about them, the most important thing you need to know is have they been violent before? Because then you're going to want to ease your way out of whatever you were thinking about doing with them. Don't tell them, I'm not interested in you and let's just be friends. Don't say that because that could escalate you into something on this timeline here. And we don't want that. But find a very smooth way to just back right on away from that person. Number two, the second stage in the timeline is that all of a sudden they're trying to rush you. You've known each other for all of 2 weeks. You know what? You know you my girl. You know I'm gonna marry you someday. Boy, you just met me. Why are you trying to rush me into having certain feelings about you already? The reason why abusers want you to rush into feelings is because feelings bring loyalty. Loyalty brings a very huge conflict in you deciding to pull away, especially if we're talking about the abuser as a male and you're a female. Black women, especially, are very loyal. We are raised to be that way in our communities, and we are raised to be especially loyal to our men. So, yeah, they're going to rush you if they're abusive to feel like you have a reason to feel guilty for pulling away. That's why the rush. If they're rushing, that is stage two, and that's telling you this is not for me. Again, never be obvious, but find a smooth way to back up. Number three is actually the relationship. And there's always a code, whether it's you have to put up with them being jealous, you have to accept that you have to be loyal to them and nobody else, whether it is that you can never be around anybody or ever have any friends, you have to be isolated. There's always a specific code that they make you live under in that relationship. That's the coercive control. Stage four is a trigger. And that literally is something threatens them still being able to keep a hold of the power and control that they have. So maybe it's you guys are going to a different college. That's a threat to that power and control because distance makes that harder. Maybe it's that somebody, and maybe you guys are I don't know, getting ready to do something different for the summer, and you're going to be gone away from each other for a couple of months. Maybe it's that there's something that happens in your family that's supposed to be a really big deal and it takes your attention away. Maybe like you're having a younger sibling and your mom is
Yeah.
pregnant and they
And
want
we've
you to
seen a
do a
lot
bunch
of
of
this,
stuff.
seen a lot of this with the Greek life as well. Crossing sororities, fraternities can be a huge
Oh,
trigger as this.
oh yeah, absolutely. Because now you have loyalty to this organization and I'm not gonna be the center of your world anymore. So whenever something threatens that, there's a trigger. Trigger, no, the stages four and five really should be together because they operate in tandem. So when they're triggered, they immediately escalate. They increase their attempts to regain that control. What do I need to do? If they fail, then they go straight to number six. And this usually goes one of two ways. In number six, they go, this is way too much trouble. She's too hard to keep a hold of. I'm just going to break up with her and I'm going to go find somebody else who's easier to deal with. For your sake, like what happened to me, he was ready to move on and make it something easier because me and the girls were starting to think too much and we were starting to ask too many questions and it got cumbersome. I feel sorry for the person he's married to today though, because she's in it with him. I'm not going to lie and not say that I'm relieved for myself because, hey, but they either break up or they decide the only way to fix this is for me to end you because you're never going to fully submit to what I want. And then they go to number seven and start planning it and try to enact it. What can you do if you see all of this or you think you're seeing this? Park, has your current or former partner ever made you feel humiliated? Have they ever made you feel afraid? Have they ever been sexually violent, which is what the R rape is for? Have they ever been physically violent? That's what the K for kick is for. Every time you say yes, that is a point. All you need is 1 point for a positive screening. If you're screening yourself, you know that you need some help. I'll tell you how to get that in 30 seconds. You always screen if you're screening somebody else by themselves, and you make sure that nobody else can overhear you because you don't know who's loyal or influenced by the abuser. You'll get this handout. Loveisrespect.org is where you can go. You can call the number or you can chat with them. They're a good support system. You also want their partner organization, which is the National Domestic Violence Hotline, because their experts are going to help you do safety planning. Does safety planning mean that you're leaving the relationship today? Probably not. Probably in days, weeks, or months, depending on just how complicated your situation is. But safety planning is so that you can safely get away from that relationship. These are 24/7 organizations. I wish I had more time for you to see how to find a therapist because that is an impartial person with great listening skills. You can unload or process what you've experienced with them, and you need and deserve them. In the link in the handout that you're going to get, you will see that psychologytoday.com. You can filter for Mississippi, filter for Black male, Black female, Black non binary. And you can find yourself a therapist that you can see right from your living room or that you can go to see in person.
And also let
Yeah.
me add, with especially all the ones going to college, every community college, every college in the state of Mississippi has free mental health services on campus. So it's never going to be an issue of cost, and all of them are trained, and it would be confidential. And if there was something that you needed to go somewhere else, they could provide those resources as well. Um, so that's something that the state of Mississippi has done a great job of, is providing that, and that is available on all college campuses in our state.
Awesome. Okay. I don't know how much time we have. Like, looks like 2 minutes, but what are your questions?
I do have some.
Okay.
But I'll go ahead and end the recording now because I know you wanted to see them when they asked. But amazing presentation. But I'm going to stop the recording, but I'm still here.